Did you know there's a fantastical, mystical, and magical theme park a train ride away from Amsterdam that's older than Disneyland? Hi, I'm Parker Bliss, and when I decided to tag along on my friend Anna Margaret's Magicon Amsterdam adventure, she told me she planned to stay a couple of extra days to experience Amsterdam to the fullest and explore a fantasy theme park that our friend Ash said was a must-do. My response was immediately, "Are you talking about Efteling?" Because I was a theme park enthusiast and lover of all things fantasy back on 2010 Tumblr. I had heard of Efteling, so it should be no surprise to all of you that I stayed a couple extra days too. Since MagicCon was in Amsterdam, Anna and I braved the trains with our ridiculously large luggage in tow and stayed the night in Tilburg, which put us just a bus ride away from Efteling. There's a bus that will take you directly to the park. Now, I was envious of our friends who managed to snag accommodations on property. They seemed to really enjoy it. Plus, there's cute little cabin-style accommodations in a woodland forest. I'll put the name here since I'm not trying to insult my Dutch ancestors by mispronouncing their language too much during this video. A brief bit of history before we really begin. Efteling started as a sports park back in 1933, and its iconic fairy tale forest opened almost 20 years later in 1952 and has continued to grow ever since, with its newest addition, The Princess and the Pea, being added in 2025. We spent a lot of time in the fairy tale forest, and I have no complaints. Our day started, however, on the Baron 1898, which is a free-fall coaster that was added in 2015. We were told to beeline it there because the line could get very long throughout the day, and it was queued for the most part in the sun. This was the first time I realized how amazing and important this park was going to make the music. When I tell you all I wanted to know was what the ghosts of the ride were singing and to immediately find a recording of it. I have been listening to Efteling soundtracks on Spotify since the trip. It was also our first intro to the structure of the queue for most rides in Efteling. Theming for the extended queue, then a room to kind of set the scene, and then finally the ride itself. If you're worried about feeling lost in this park with the language barrier, don't. The Efteling app is fantastic and even has translations for each of the ride's sort of setup dialogue that you can play in real time on your phone. Our friends showed us how that worked, but honestly, the first few rides we went through without it, and were able to infer through context clues what was happening. We had a few groups of friends going to Efteling that day, including Ash and Libby. Ash has been going to Efteling since she was a kid, and it was honestly incredible to experience this park with someone who not only knows it, but adores it. So we met them to eat at Polis Kitchen, where we got stroopwafel coffee, pancakes neither Anna nor I could really finish, and we got to meet Pardoes, the magic jester, who Ash described as Efteling's mascot character. He was very impressed by our friend's Rubik's Cube abilities. Then we continued our day into the castle, which is a ride, Symbolica Palace of Fantasy. This was a really cool dark ride where you pick your route, either music, hero, or treasure. Anna and I wanted to go with music, obviously. When I tell you I would have absolutely bought merch of the music route's heraldry, I am so serious. The premise is that Pardoes sort of hijacks the ride to make it more fun. And what's so impressive is that it's an entirely trackless ride. There were so many things to see and experience, including the food. When I tell you the pancakes were the only sit-down food we had, and I could have spent the entire day eating, I mean it. These fresh made-to-order donuts were one of my favorites. With Ash as our guide, we spent most of the day on the move, trying to ride as many rides as we could and see as much as we could. Her favorite ride, Danse Macabre, quickly became mine. It was the only ride we rode more than once. The ride mechanics were fantastic, but the story and music were what captured me. The entire ride is centered around a symphonic poem by French composer Camille Saint-Saëns, a choir gone missing, and a cat who is more than just a cat. You're not supposed to look him in the eyes lest you be cursed. So, of course, I bought the plush and brought him home with me. Have you been looking in his eyes this whole time? Did you know that Efteling has a 100-year-old steam carousel? It's from 1895 and found its place in the Carousel Palace in 1956. It's gorgeous, and as we found out, incredibly fast. There's also an entire miniature world housed in the same building called Diorama. We could have entirely missed it if not for our friends leading the way. Then it was finally time for the fairy tale forest, where we wandered through the paths to read and encounter so many stories. We heard snoring knights and saw a sleeping princess. We explored a dwarf village. We saw a man whose neck seemed to never stop growing. One of my favorite things about the fairy tale forest itself was being able to see the care that went into each tale and how much the technology had advanced through the years of its existence. We also sat on toadstools to hear the music they would sing. Ash told us that was a must when visiting Efteling. Another must was attempting to catch a coin from a donkey's butt, which I immediately failed at, and then needed to read the story for context. My coin did originally get stuck, and then I ended up having two thrown at me. So that's probably lucky, right? Every single thing in this park is fantastical and magical. It really felt like you'd stepped into a fairy tale land. The theming throughout the park was nothing short of fantasy. Even when you could tell a ride had been there for years, it still held so much whimsy, and that's without the nostalgia bias of growing up with it. I could have easily spent more time at the park, despite getting there at open and leaving at close. We said our goodbyes to Ash and then immediately got lost on our way back to the water show without our guide. But wandering through the darkened park towards the entrance was honestly just another highlight. And don't worry, we did make it in time to enjoy Aquanura, Europe's largest water show. And listen, I love fireworks because I am my mother's daughter, but there's something about a great water show. All in all, I'd love to return to Efteling again soon. There's apparently a rat character that I didn't even know existed, but my friend Karen found out about. His name is Ratter, and I need to know more, like immediately. But seriously, if you've ever wondered if Efteling is worth the hype, yes it is. If you need a little whimsy, you'll find it in droves here. There really seemed to be something for everyone, whether you like coasters, experiences, shows, or a nice walk through the fairy tale forest. Your inner child will love Efteling. I'm Parker Bliss, and I'll see you guys in our next adventure.